a billionaire whose empire could buy anything, and a waitress who has nothing to lose. A collision is imminent. It's not the business deal everyone expects. It's not a flashy merger or a power struggle. It's a moment that happens in the dimly lit corner of a five-star restaurant where two lives, seemingly worlds apart, are about to intersect in the most unexpected way. On one side, Julian Croft, the titan of industry with a name synonymous with ruthless power. On the other, Clara Evans, a 26-year-old waitress just trying to survive. A smile, a simple, innocuous gesture, will soon become the battleground for their fates. But Clara's smile isn't just a symbol of her service. It hides something deeper, something that will shatter Croft's world. This isn't just about a bad tip or an upset diner. It's about a buried past and a single sentence that will end a billionaire's career forever. Where are you watching from? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more incredible stories like this. The restaurant was called Avalon, a name as refined as its patrons. The air inside was thick with the scent of wealth, old leather, rare wines, and seared seafood. The lighting, crafted to perfection, softened the harsh lines of the high-powered executives who dined there, bathing them in a flattering glow. But for Clara Evans, the glow was a reminder of her place in this world. She was just a servant in a room full of the elite. At 26, Clara had perfected the art of being invisible, her uniform a second skin, and her smile her armor. Each night she moved gracefully between tables, anticipating the needs of those who didn't know the weight of survival. But tonight was different. Her smile was a little less real. It had to be. Leo, her younger brother, was in need of yet another round of physical therapy. The medical bills sat like a mountain on her kitchen table. Her paycheck barely made a dent. Every tip, every polite "enjoy your meal," was another small victory against a crushing reality. Tonight, her section was the most coveted, the corner booths where the titans dined. It was a position of prestige, but also a heavy burden. Tonight, Julian Croft was one of those titans. Everyone in the city knew his name. Croft Enterprises was a force to be reckoned with, a global empire that owned everything from tech companies to museum wings. Julian himself was a legend, a billionaire with the power to shape industries. But Clara wasn't impressed. She'd seen the likes of him before, rich, entitled, and untouchable. He arrived with an air of dominance, his cold eyes scanning the room as if calculating the value of the space around him. He was flanked by a younger man, someone clearly out of his depth. Croft barely acknowledged anyone around him, including Clara, as he pointed to the best booth in the house. The maitre d' was nearly bowing as he ushered them to their seats. Clara took a steadying breath as Mr. Dubois, the head server, hurried over to her. "Section 3, Clara. It's Croft. Be perfect. Be better than perfect. Be invisible, but be there. You know the drill." Clara nodded. She'd heard of Croft's reputation. He was known for being difficult, and the rumors were true. The next hour was a performance of control. Croft spoke in low, sharp tones to the man beside him, Marcus as he called him. It was clear that Marcus was just a subordinate, scribbling notes with a nervous energy that contrasted sharply with Croft's icy composure. Occasionally, Croft's phone would vibrate, and he'd glance at it, his jaw tightening with whatever news he received. The merger with a Japanese tech company, Kenjutsu, was in its final stages, but word on the street was that it was teetering on the brink of collapse. Clara moved quietly between the tables, serving oysters Rockefeller for Croft, refilling glasses and doing everything she could to make the evening go smoothly. But as the courses passed, Croft's mood only darkened. His phone buzzed again. This time his voice rose in frustration. "What do you mean they're walking? Get them back at the table. I don't care what it takes. Threaten them. I own them, and they don't know it yet." He slammed his phone down, the crack echoing through the quiet room. Clara remained composed, doing her job, but the tension in the air was palpable. As she presented the wine, Croft sniffed the cork with disdain. "This wine tastes like vinegar," he snarled. "Get me something else." Without saying a word, Clara replaced the bottle and glass.
She knew this wasn't about the wine. This was about power. Croft was a king whose kingdom was crumbling, and he was lashing out where he could, in the one space where he could still control everything. Clara stepped back to her station, her hands clasped behind her back, her expression neutral. But when Croft looked up, his eyes met hers, and that's when it happened. "You," he barked, his voice like ice. "Stop that." Clara's smile faltered for just a moment before he continued. "The smiling. You stand there with that vapid grin on your face like a damned doll. What could you possibly have to smile about?" His voice rose, cutting through the silence. "Your miserable little life, your pathetic paycheck. I bet you're thrilled just to be in my presence, aren't you?" The room went dead silent. The other diners froze. The staff stood still, and Clara felt the weight of his words press against her chest. Her heart hammered in her chest, but she didn't retreat. For years, she'd learned to swallow insults, to cater to egos, to smile even when it felt like her soul was crumbling. But this was an attack on her dignity, and she wouldn't take it anymore. His voice sliced through her, harsh and ugly. "Wipe that ridiculous expression off your face. You're smiling too much. Do you understand me?" His eyes were cold, his jaw clenched as if the world had done him an injustice. Clara didn't flinch. Instead, she stepped closer to the table, her posture changing. The trembling in her voice vanished, replaced by an unshakable calm. "You're right," she said softly, her voice steady. "There are some things you should never smile about." Croft looked at her, confused for a moment, but then she delivered the one sentence that would change everything. "You haven't changed at all, have you? Not since Oakage." The name hit him like a thunderbolt. His face went white, the confident, powerful man crumbling in an instant. He grabbed his fork, but it slipped from his hand, the sound echoing like a gunshot in the now quiet room. "Who are you?" he whispered, his voice hollow. "What did you say?" Clara didn't answer. She simply stared at him, her eyes filled with recognition, her voice quiet but powerful. She turned and walked away, leaving behind a shattered billionaire and a room full of stunned onlookers. As she entered the staff locker room, her heart raced. Oakage. The name echoed in her mind like a curse. What was it? Why had it triggered such a reaction in Croft? Before she could process it further, Mr. Dubois stormed in, furious. "What the hell was that?" he shouted. "Do you have any idea who you just spoke to?" Clara stood firm, her resolve hardening. "I do," she said, her voice cold. "I know exactly who he is, and for the first time, I'm not afraid of him." Mr. Dubois' face went red. "You're fired! You ruined everything! You humiliated him!" Clara turned and grabbed her coat, slipping it over her shoulders as she walked out of the restaurant without a second glance. The cool night air hit her like a breath of freedom, but she knew it came at a cost. She had no job, no backup, and the bills still piled up. But as she stepped into the night, she felt something she hadn't in a long time. A sense of power. Across the city, Julian Croft was in a frenzy. His world was crumbling. He had just been publicly humiliated by a waitress, and now his empire was beginning to unravel. As he stormed out of the restaurant, his mind raced with panic. The next morning, Clara sat in a small apartment, her phone buzzing with notifications. Her life was about to change forever. The truth she had uncovered was bigger than anything she could have imagined. Would she find justice, or would Croft's empire crush her before she could make a stand? Stay tuned.